Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling Podcast, where I, Duke, talk about events from the past, present, or future in the world of professional wrestling. Now, for this podcast, I'm going to be talking about AEW's first pay-per-view of 2026, which is keeping in tradition of pretty much any other year for AEW, with their first pay-per-view being Revolution. Now, most AEW Revolutions have ended up being some of the best pay-per-views of that year, regardless of promotion. So obviously, for this year's event, that anticipation comes with those same rates, because honestly, with this year's card, it looks like it could also be to those same levels. There are a ton of potential match of the year candidates on this card, and I'm really excited to see how this entire show goes down. It'll probably end up going with another AEW tradition of being 5 fucking hours long, but as long as it's an entertaining wrestling through and through, then I'm going to be extremely excited. Now, I'm going to start with the 0-hour matches and then go through the main card matches, and I was honestly going to do a prediction video earlier this week, but then I remembered, oh yeah, it's AEW. Tony always loves to book at least 3 or 4 more matches, including in the 0-hour or main card, on Dynamite or even Collision. And of course, after Dynamite, there are at least 3 or 4 more matches announced for combined the 0-hour and main card. Now, the first match from the 0-hour that I'm going to be talking about today is the tag team match of Boom and Doom, the team of Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, taking on the Infantry, members being Captain Shawn Dean and Carly Bravo. Now, with this match, it'll probably be fine, but not saying this in a completely hateful way, but this is probably just going to be the same Big Boom AJ match that we've seen in AEW. There's QT Marshall is going to take some work from the Infantry. Big Boom AJ will get a hot tag. Maybe one of the members of the Infantry, maybe Shane Taylor or someone will attack or try to attack the Rizzler and Big Justice, and then Big Justice will be able to do a wrestling move, and then Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall will get the win. Not to say that's like the worst thing in the world, but it's been pretty predictable on what's going to happen with almost any Big Boom AJ match. So if they actually swerve us and have Boom and Doom lose the match, I will genuinely be very shocked. Then the next match I'll talk about on the 0-hour pre-show is the Battle Royal for the National Championship, Ricochet obviously being the defender. And from what I've looked at, I'm pretty sure the only other wrestler who has been officially announced for this Battle Royal is Tommaso Ciampa. But we're probably going to get other former champs from the mid-card like Mark Briscoe. And then I also get a guess that we're going to be seeing a Jack Perry in appearance in this match, because honestly, they've been really building up to potentially Jack Perry taking the title off of Ricochet. And for a split second, I was thinking they were maybe going to do that. But honestly, I don't think that's the case. And what's going to end up happening is that Ricochet will end up retaining, because the week after Revolution, Ricochet will be competing at a Rev Pro event, and he will be facing Michael Oku. And this might just be me fantasy booking with my heart and not my head, and especially because I don't pay as much attention to Rev Pro, so I don't even know if the booking there would even make sense for this. But imagine if Michael Oku takes the national title off of Ricochet at a Rev Pro event, because ever since they brought this title in, they've been wanting to really sponsor that this belt could be defended in any promotion, whether it's AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, CMLL, or Rev Pro. It doesn't matter. We could see matches for that title in any promotion. And to see a title in AEW actually change hands in another promotion would be a really cool visual. And I also think it'd be a fantastic way to introduce Michael Oku to some more casual fans who maybe don't watch as much independent pro wrestling. And I think Michael Oku is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, especially in the UK scene. And if he does get signed to a full-time deal with AEW, I would be more than excited. And whenever Will Ospreay comes back, we're going to have to see that rematch between the two of them if things end up the way I am hoping. So I'm mainly only guessing that Ricochet is going to retain because I'm fantasy booking Michael Oku beating him for it. But I could try to say like my official prediction will be someone like Jack Perry, but I'm going to stick with Ricochet. And then I believe this is the final match announced for the 0 Hour. It is for the TBS Championship, Willow Nightingale versus Lena Kross. Now, I am not as familiar with Lena Kross. I'm a little bit familiar with her, but I know there are some people who are a lot more of like extreme fans of her in her independent career over the past decade. I believe she's been wrestling since 2017. But the first time I'd really seen her was when she appeared on Collision last July or August against Chris Statlander. And she gave a great performance in that match. And then she made her AEW roster debut at Grand Slam Australia. And I think it was in perfect timing because I think she's a great tag team partner for Megan Bayne. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And I think it's really cool that they're immediately sponsoring her with a singles title match on pay-per-view. Yet, even though it's the 0 Hour, it's still a great way to sponsor her. And I was thinking, could they pull a shocking move and have a new champion be crowned on 0 Hour? I can't remember for sure if they've ever had a new champion crowned on the pre-show. Maybe the FTW title if you count that, but I think that might be it. So I think if they did decide to do that, it'd be pretty cool. But with what I'm guessing with how they're going to book the fact that Willow and Lena are competing in 2 matches, I'm thinking that the smart way to do this would be to have Willow win the TBS title match and then it immediately cut to the main card and have it start with the women's tag team title match with Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron against Megan Bayne and Lena Kross. I think that would be a really cool decision, especially because a lot of AEW pay-per-views recently have wanted to cut from the 0 Hour to the main card. And I think that'd be a really way to kind of keep in tradition of that and yet still be a really creative way to do it and not in a way that we saw it in previous ways. So I think that would be the best outcome for it. And then, like I mentioned with Megan Bayne and Lena Kross being a great team, I think it came at the best time for Megan Bayne, especially with the unfortunate injury of Penelope Ford. So at the very least, if Megan Bayne was wanting to stay in the women's tag division, she immediately still has a partner in Lena Kross. And people are very excited about her debuting in the company. She's been extremely over, especially in Australia, obviously. But I think this is going to be a very solid tag team match. And obviously with Harley Cameron being there, from there as well, there would be some very fun sequences between the two of them, I would hope. And maybe if the crowd wants to get very creative, they could do some very fun chants theming Australia. And as to who I think was going to win, since I think that Willow was going to win the TBS title, and I'm really wondering, do I think Willow's going to still be holding on to 2 belts by the end of the night? And I was thinking I'm going to lean towards no. I think that Megan Bayne and Lena Kross are going to end up becoming the new AEW Women's Tag Team Champions by the end of Revolution. And I think that's the right call because I think with the Babes of Wrath becoming not TNT, not TBS, tag team champions. With them winning it, it was a great way to have the first ever title win be from 2 of the best baby faces in AEW's women's division. But when it comes to an actual reign, I think there's not as much that they could do. So I think giving it to a newly over heel team in Lena Kross and Megan Bayne, I think they could do a lot of great work with them. And I think if they let them hold on to the belts for like 6+ months and let them be extremely dominant, it would let Megan Bayne and Lena Kross then be more serviceable to go after the AEW Women's World Championship once they lose those titles. And I think that'd be the best outcome overall. And the next match I'm going to be talking about is, I believe it was announced to be a Tornado tag team match between Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong against the War Dogs, or now they're being addressed simply as the Dogs, the team of David Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd. This is obviously going to be a very fun spot fest. And I think when Dynamite was happening, they at first just announced that it was going to be a straight up 6-man tag team or a trios match. But then earlier today, I saw that they announced that they changed it to a tornado match, and I think that was the right call, especially with people like Darby in the match. That just gives him the opportunity to go anywhere around the arena and can do a jumping spot from it in any place that he possibly can. And we're going to get some other crazy carnage around here, and I think that's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. And especially with David Finlay recently debuting in AEW, this being his first pay-per-view match in AEW, it could also be a great opportunity for him to really get some moments to shine for some people who maybe not who maybe didn't watch as much of his work in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And when it comes to who I think is going to win this match, I think I would have went with the Dogs anyway, with what I'm about to explain with my reasoning. But after the segment of Roderick Strong returning and at first teasing that he was going to be aligning with the Dogs, and then ended up being in the aid of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, that maybe they're actually going to pull the trigger and have Roddy turn heel and join forces with the Dogs and maybe just be like the mentor of the group. And I think that'd be a solid idea. I feel like it would more so just be done because they might not have as much to do with Roderick Strong right now, but that still means he can get more TV time, so I'd be okay with it. Or maybe they just did that just to have a fun tease pop, but really he's just got to remain babyface. I don't know for sure, but since they tease that, I'm going to lean that they're actually going to have either Roddy cost them the match, quote unquote, accidentally, or he's actually going to join forces with the Dogs at Revolution, or it could take some time to actually build that up. And the next match that I'm going to be talking about is one of the first, I believe, non-title women's singles matches in AEW pay-per-view. It might be the first, but I don't think it is. But it is Timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir, everyone barred from ringside. Now, this feud has been building up for at least 3, maybe 4 months, probably 3 months. And it has been very entertaining the whole way through, whether it's the very fun tag at World's End or her teaming with Orange Cassidy a lot against Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, where at Grand Slam Australia, it led to Wheeler Yuta having to shave his head bald. And now we're finally getting the blow off with just Toni and Marina. And I think this is a really good opportunity to really showcase Marina Shafir, because ever since she's joined the Death Riders, it's been a great opportunity for her to really be spotlighted. And she has done a fantastic job with her position in the Death Riders. She has been in clutch with almost any spot that she was depended for, and she has consistently been on point. And it's been awesome to see, because especially as someone who really didn't get to see her do a ton when she was in WWE, and not as much in the first years of her AEW career. I didn't really have as much of an opinion of her, but now she is a very domineering force, even though she already was with her MMA abilities. Now she's really showcasing it even more with her character work and doing a great job. And I think especially because of that, Marina Shafir should get the win here. I have quite a bit of belief that they are going to do this, especially with the fact that Toni Storm isn't AEW Women's World Champion anymore, so she can now afford some losses, and especially with the way that they've been building up Marina Shafir over the past year to year and a half at this point, then to have her lose her first singles match on pay-per-view would just be kind of an off decision, unless they were really not wanting to put Marina Shafir in the women's world title picture. But I think with how they've been booking her, it'd be kind of dumb not to do that. So I am leaning toward that they are going to make the decision of having Marina Shafir win the match. And I think overall that is the right decision. And next match that I will be talking about is, at first I was thinking that was starting to get to the actual title matches on the main card, but we still got 2 more singles matches, non-title matches to get through, and both of them are potential match of the night candidates. The first one is, I think, the most likely match of the night candidate is Andrade El Idolo versus Bandito. Bandito obviously was a serious contender for Wrestler of the Year last year. So many of his matches for the Ring of Honor World Championship were undeniably incredible, and not only some of the best wrestling matches of the year, but some of the best wrestling matches of the entire decade, especially his matches with Konosuke Takeshita and Hechicero. Both of those were incredible, and I am expecting practically almost to those same levels with this match, especially with Andrade's character work being so incredible right now, him getting even more over than he already was when he came back to AEW, with him taking photos with women in the crowd and all that. It's been very, very entertaining. And when it comes to the in-ring perspective, I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I'm sure the chemistry between them is going to soar, especially with the crisp move set that both of these wrestlers have. It's going to be magic in that ring, and I am very excited for what's going to really go down, and I really hope there isn't too many Don Callis interference spots, because I just really want to see them cook. And as to who I think is going to win, I was kind of wondering if they are going to have Bandito win, because I was wondering if they do have Andrade win, does that mean they're going to have Andrade go after the Ring of Honor World Championship? I wasn't sure if they'd want to do that, because it seems like they mainly want to keep him focused on AEW television. So I'm not too sure, but I am going to lean toward Andrade El Idolo, especially because he has been getting wins over some of AEW's top stars over the past couple months, recently being Kenny Omega. So I think that having him also beat Bandito is the right way to go, especially with how Andrade has been killing it with wins over some of the top talents lately. And the final non-title match that I will be talking about is the match to determine the most dangerous man in AEW, Brody King versus Swerve Strickland. Now, this feud mainly developed after Swerve Strickland had turned heel and attacked Kenny Omega after their match, and it seemed that he was really wanting to go after Brody King, because Kenny made the comment that Brody King was actually the most dangerous man in AEW. And when Kenny said that, I'm like, they were trying to make it seem like he wasn't saying that as a dig to Swerve, but Swerve obviously took that personally. And now he is going to prove that he is the most dangerous man in AEW. But Brody is not going to be a easy win if Swerve is thinking it'll be easy to just destroy him. And I think in kayfabe, he knows that on Dynamite, after Brody King had broken the chain after Swerve tried to attack him with it, which was a very awesome spot, by the way. And I think this is going to be a very incredible match. I think it's probably going to go a little bit more violent than we might be expecting, because I think it's still determined a singles match, but they're probably still going to find ways to bloody each other up. And for who I think is going to win, while I would love to see Brody King get a singles win on pay-per-view, I think with this recent heel turn with Swerve, it is going to lead to some very large things in AEW over the next upcoming months, whether it's to him becoming world champion, whether it's him starting a new heel stable potentially, or both. I think that Swerve winning is probably the step that AEW is going to be wanting to go with how they've been building up his character lately. And now we get to the first title match of the main card, and it is for the AEW Trios Championships. The Don Callis family, members being Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, against Mystico and Jet Speed, obviously the members being Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, especially after the fantastic TNT title match between Kyle Fletcher and Speedball on Dynamite this week / last night for me as I'm filming the video, but especially after that match, I think it just led to even more excitement for how this is going to go down, because this is a trios match with some of the best talents that AEW has to offer. Kazuchika Okada is going to do some great work, give the middle finger to the crowd a lot, and probably make us laugh at least 5 times overall throughout the match. And I'm especially happy for Mark Davis, because over the past month, he has been killing it in singles matches, whether being on Dynamite or Collision, being against talents like Jon Moxley and some of the best talents that AEW has to offer and some of their top stars in the company. And he's been really getting that time to shine. And even though he never got a win, he was still always having a great match every time and was really showing that he had some of the best capabilities possible. And he got rewarded with it with this trios titles win. And I think that was just incredible to see that hard work really paying off. And I think the match itself is going to be some great work. And like I mentioned with the other Don Callis family member match, that I really hope this doesn't get too lenient in interferences. It probably will, but it'll mainly just be between the people actually in the match getting involved in a pinfall or something. So shouldn't be that bad. I am very excited for this trios match. I could see them surprising me even more and having this become a genuine match of the year candidate. I'm thinking it's going to be a fantastic match, but I'm not sure if it's going to be on those levels right now, but I am willing for them to surprise me. And as to who I think is going to win, I think with the Don Callis family just recently taking the trios belts off of Jet Speed and Hangman Adam Page / Jet Set Rodeo, I think having Mystico and Jet Speed taking it right after would be a weird decision unless they were trying to book further of a breakup with people in the Don Callis family. Maybe Takeshita gets involved, but with his match with Mox later in the night, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Don Callis family is going to end up retaining. And I especially have been thinking that the Don Callis family will retain because with the backstage segment of Swerve starting to talk more to Kevin Knight, I'm wondering if this is going to lead to Kevin Knight turning heel. And while the people in Don Callis family could think, oh, he's joining us? No, he is going to be joining forces with Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. I think that would be a really good decision. I've been guessing of Kevin Knight turning heel ever since All In last year, and when I was thinking he was going to potentially join the Hurt Syndicate. So maybe we actually get the heel turn this time. And even if we don't get it on the pay-per-view, which I think it's more likely that we won't get it on the pay-per-view, and instead he will turn heel the following week on Dynamite or even Collision. But I think it's going to be a very entertaining match regardless. And the next match that I will be talking about is for the AEW Tag Team Championships. FTR versus the Young Bucks 5, I believe. And yeah, I believe this is their 5th tag team match against each other with just these 4 involved in the match. Crazy to think about how in the beginning of 2020, the Young Bucks versus the Revival / FTR was just a dream match. And now it is becoming a match that a lot of fans are starting to get really sick of. I'm not necessarily sick of it. I think it's just been the fact that I think their best match that they have had against each other was their second match against each other on Dynamite. And then their match at All In or the ladder match at Dynasty, I don't think those have lived up to the greatest tag team match of all time levels that fans immediately expect with a match with 2 of the greatest tag teams of the modern era, let alone of all time. So I think that's the main reason why fans were immediately getting drained by it, because they didn't get the exact 5-star classic that they were wanting. And honest to God, with fans being not as excited for this more than usual, as opposed to maybe 5 years ago, I think that potential chip on their shoulder is going to lead to them having the best tag team match that they've ever had against each other. I don't know about that for sure. Obviously, I don't know the future, but that is my genuine hopes with how this match actually goes down, because obviously they have the capabilities for it. And as to who I think is going to win, with what I think is going to happen post-match has made me go back and forth as to whether I think FTR or the Young Bucks are going to win. So I will just say immediately what I think is going to happen post-match. I was almost going to say Edge, but I just won't for the sake of AEW roster names. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage / Cope and Christian will make their return to AEW and attack FTR to then lead to the rematch from All Out. And I was mainly wondering, okay, are they going to actually have this match be for the tag team titles or not? Because while having it be for the tag team titles would be awesome, a feud like Cope and Christian versus FTR doesn't necessarily need the tag team titles because it's already a blockbuster feud in of itself. But I think it would be very necessary to have it be for the titles. So I think that FTR is going to end up getting the win on the Young Bucks, whether it's a bunch of shenanigans or they get a more so clean victory. I think they are going to get the win against the Young Bucks, leading to Cope and Christian coming out, attacking FTR, leading to the next challengers for FTR being Cope and Christian. So Cope and Christian can become tag team champions one last time in their careers, because it is seeming like there is the chance that Adam Copeland might be done with wrestling by the end of 2026. I don't know that for sure, but I have heard like a bunch of rumors around online, so it is a possibility. And now the next match I will get into is Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita for the Continental Championship. Oh man. This whole Mox run ever since he started the Continental Classic has been one of the biggest surprises in AEW's recent years. Because with his AEW title reign, I was getting really sick of Jon Moxley, and a lot of other fans were, or at the very least, getting sick of the Death Riders holding the world title hostage storyline. And as soon as he lost that and then lost his feud with Darby Allin, I was thinking, and a lot of fans were thinking, that it was going to lead to the Death Rider members turning on Mox and then him turning face. But he ended up just turning face while still being in the Death Riders. It's been a very weird ordeal, but I can't say that it hasn't been entertaining as hell. And his performance in the entire Continental Classic was some of the best wrestling of his entire career, and it was amazing to watch. And Konosuke Takeshita has been one of the great opponents, along with that great lineup of performances from Mox in the CC or the C2. And with this one having no time limit, I'm wondering on how long they're actually going to take this match. If they're actually wanting to take it to over an hour long, but with a match including the 0 hour that has 13 to 14 matches, I don't know for sure that they're going to do that, because especially there are plenty of other matches on this card that are going to need a lot of time. So I don't know for sure on how long it's going to go, so I won't make a prediction on that. I'll say at the very least 30 to 35 minutes. And as to who I think is going to win, this also might just be, like I was mentioning earlier, booking with my heart, not my head, like I was mentioning earlier with Michael Oku. I do think that Konosuke Takeshita is finally going to win the Continental Championship. Because when I went to World's End Live, and when I was there, I was walking in thinking that Takeshita had this in the bag, that Takeshita was going to win the C2 at World's End. We were going to get the awesome Okada Takeshita match, and while we still got the Okada Takeshita match, it didn't end in the way we wanted it to, with Okada cheating to get the win. So we did not get to see Takeshita win the C2. We saw Mox win it instead, and it was a great, shocking moment. But I think now it is finally going to be Takeshita's time, and I think it's going to further build up in the feud between him and Okada, because Okada has been saying on Dynamite, well, Takeshita doesn't have a belt. Bitch. And so now if Takeshita does win the Continental title, he can then look over to Okada and say, now I have a belt. A singles belt. What's your belt? Not a singles belt? Okay, bitch. And then we get Okada versus Takeshita, maybe even at Double or Nothing. That could also, this might just be over fantasy booking in my head, but that's what I would really want to happen. And the second to last match that I will be talking about is Tekla versus Chris Statlander in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW Women's World Championship. When Tekla won the AEW Women's title, I was extremely shocked. And that's 2 title wins in a row for AEW's Women's World title to shock me. Because when I was at All Out last year, Statlander winning genuinely did surprise me. Not to say that I didn't love Statlander winning, because she has earned that win for years at this point, but I wasn't expecting it to happen at that time. Just like I wasn't expecting Tekla to get the AEW Women's World title that soon. And not to say that I wasn't displeased, that I was displeased with it, because I was really happy with the result. It was shocking, and some forms of shocking in wrestling I really, really enjoy. And Tekla winning is a part of that shocking that makes me really excited. I'm not too familiar with her ring career before she entered AEW, but she has been impressing me ever since I've been seeing her on AEW television. And I'm hoping with this 2 out of 3 falls match, I get to see the most impressive performance out of her thus far. And maybe even potentially one of the best women's matches in AEW history, because I do think these two have the capabilities to do it, and especially with this stipulation. And as to how I think the whole 2 out of 3 ordeal should go down, do I think it should be 2 falls to 1 from one person? Or do I think that either Tekla or Stat should make a clean sweep against the other? I do think that there should be a finish with 2 to 1, 2 falls to 1, and I think it should go to Tekla. Chris Statlander, I think, should get the first fall. And maybe get it pretty quickly, like within 5 minutes. She just immediately lashes out her anger and immediately gets the pin on her. She feels some dominance really quickly, and then Tekla slowly takes over along with some interference from the Sisters of Sin. Then Tekla would get the next 2 falls. I think taking the title off Tekla that quickly would just kind of make it seem pointless to put the title on her. And it could be another case of fans complaining about that situation, similar to fans complaining about Cody beating Drew for the title, even though Drew beat Cody for that belt already a few months prior. So I do think that the right decision is for Tekla to win, and I do have faith that AEW is going to also book Tekla to retain the title as well. And now we get to our main event, MJF versus Hangman Page in a Texas death match for the AEW World Championship. And if Hangman loses, he is never able to challenge for the AEW World title ever again. Ever since that part of the stipulation came out, it put a lot of fear in AEW fans, because we haven't seen anyone put their ability to challenge for the world title on the line since Cody Rhodes. And obviously he lost to Chris Jericho in that match, and so he was never able to challenge for the AEW title again, and he left AEW a few years later. And so it then made some AEW fans fear, oh, could Hangman Page actually be leaving AEW soon? Could he maybe make the swap to WWE? I mean, he has done almost anything that he could possibly do in AEW, so maybe is it the right move? I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Hangman Page is leaving AEW anytime soon. I don't think he's going to be going to WWE anytime soon. I think Hangman Page will be sticking with AEW potentially until he retires, but obviously I don't know the guy, so things could happen. I said the same thing with Cody, that he'd probably be staying in AEW forever, but then he went to WWE. So you never really know. But I am fairly confident at the moment that Hangman Page isn't going to be leaving AEW regardless if he loses to MJF and he won't be able to challenge for the belt again, which I think is going to happen. I think MJF is going to retain somehow, some way, whether someone gets involved or not, or he tries to do one of the most extreme spots possible, or stick a thumbtack in Hangman's eye or something. Please, God, don't let something like that happen. But I do think we are going to see some of the most violent spots in AEW history here, because whenever MJF does an extreme match, he always likes to up the ante each one, it seems like. Because the last one he had was the thumbtack match at All Out against Mark Briscoe, and he took a lot of very brutal bumps in that match. So I'm afraid that he is really going to put his safety at risk at Revolution, whether in kayfabe he is trying to or not. I think it is going to be an insane Texas death match, and I think MJF is going to retain the title, which will lead to Hangman never being able to challenge for the world title again. Do I think that Hangman not being able to challenge again will be permanent? No. I personally don't think so. Once again, we're going into my fantasy booking realm. I think Hangman will lose. It'll drive him mad in the way that he was going insane in 2024. And with Swerve recently turning heel, they might face off against each other. They both explain their frustrations and realize that they're very similar to one another. At least their flaws are. Or at least not their flaws, but their current issues in AEW. And they form an alliance and become the most dangerous duo in AEW history. Potentially the best rivalry in AEW history could then lead to the most dangerous team in AEW. I think that would be an amazing story, and I think with how stuff has been built up lately, it kind of makes sense. Hangman has started to kind of build up a darker side to him again, and him saying that no one is as similar to Hangman in AEW besides MJF. Maybe that can show Hangman doing some more sadistic shit like we were seeing him do a couple years ago, and could lead to Swerve and Hangman becoming AEW tag team champions even. That might be a bit too much fantasy booking in my head for now. That is looking way too much into the future. But regardless, I do believe MJF is going to sneak out of that Texas Deathmatch as AEW World Champion still. So those are my predictions for Revolution. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and duke out your Revolution predictions below in the comments.